Last time I gave this was for a conference in Minnesota, and the Hub Bike Shop asked me to fill their slot. So it sounds like I'm giving it to for the Hub Bike Shop, but obviously I'm not. So they are my bike shop. I really enjoy the Hub. So there's my contact information. And the last time I gave it, it was more about just this trip. So I'm just going to focus in on the bike camping in Britain. Okay, so I lived in London from 2008 to 2015. I cycled across Britain in 2011. And my goal was not to stay in any hotels or B&Bs. It was just kind of a personal challenge. I wanted to either camp or stay in youth hostels. And for anyone who's been to the EU or UK, the youth hostels are wonderful. I also hope to finish because it was 1,100 miles and I had 3 weeks. So didn't know. I just started cycling and kind of hope for the best. So this is down in the lower left corner, you can see a little cycle icon. Whoops. And that's me at the start, very bottom. So this is day one. I cycled 57 miles, a whopping speed of 8.5 miles per hour. And I finished in a town called St. Just in Roseland. This is where I started. This is Land's End. This route, Land's End to John O'Groats, is the main route in Britain. I'll back up for a second. Maybe I can draw. So I'm going to use a pen. And so it's the longest diagonal across Britain. And so I cycled something like this, then a couple wrong turns, and then kept on going just off the Lake District up to around there to Loch Ness, and went through some desolate areas, and then to the top called John O'Groats. So that's their big ride. So I started at Land's End, first day of the ride. I used a folding touring bike, a bit odd, but that kind of suits me. I was living in London, and I lived in the top floor of an old building. I didn't want to carry a full-size bike up those steps. And also in London, you can put a folding bike on the tube on the subway. And so a folder is nice that way. Here's a picture from Land's End, wonderfully desolate, actually. You sign the guest book, and here I'm underway. And I'm just checking out the coastline, and oh yeah, there's a castle. That was kind of fun. I stopped here for a nice little treat, a little lunch, and back on the road. And all of a sudden, just the views of England just kind of took over. There's some old building in the center, top center of the screen. Not sure what it was, but it caught my attention for a moment. This is what I saw a lot of the times. It was kind of like cycling down a big garden hose. Their hedges are amazing, and it's hard to see on the other side occasionally, but it was quiet. It was a peaceful road. Then all of a sudden I see some view like this. Really loved it. Some hills, some older buildings in the background. For an American, it still is stunning to go through a country that's something like 1,500 years old. And I cruised down. I had to cross a bit of water, and there was a ferry called the King Harry Ferry. And so here you can see the various prices. 50 pence, 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 7 pounds, bicycle free. I'm going to try something more risky than wise if I can figure this out. This is actually a video clip. There we are. Let's see if it plays. Oh, didn't work. Here we are. So here I'm on the Prince Harry Ferry.
It looks like a sunny day.
It was lovely. Well, hold it. What am I saying? This was it was lovely weather and rainy weather and cold and warm in the same day. But yeah, it was a lovely day. Yeah. I've literally, if you've been to Britain, you know, you get rained on when the sun's out. That's really a standard part of life over there. But it really was nice. In these coastal cities, beautiful. And I think I thought I ended on my bike, but I'll pause it for now. King Harry Ferry. All right, so I've gone that far, as you can see on the bottom. Cruising along, and I didn't know where I was staying each night. I started making phone calls around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And in this case, I found a lovely campground. Then back on the road, getting a bit grayer out. Here's another video. I'm using my helmet cam.
It's a biplane. There's a biplane coming toward me. There's 2 biplanes coming toward me. Look at that, biplane.
Sorry about the repetition. I'm kind of childish sometimes.
Very cool.
Are those tarred roads or is it gravel? What is the road?
I believe that it is tar. Yep. That is tar. Yep. But the roads there, as you can see, are quite a bit more modest than American roads.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped in a little cafe to have some lunch. Got the talking to the owner in the background. And now I'm here. Anybody here ever watch Poldark?
Yep.
Poldark is right about where my head is on this map. The Poldark mine.
Cool.
Again, just lovely little British towns. And back inside the big lawn hose, that trough just caught my attention. I don't know how they made that thing, but obviously it still holds water. You can't quite see here, it might be a bit cut off, but literally it's just about growing over the top in this road in that last picture. Some more lovely coastal towns and bakeries. I cycle a lot, but I'm not a fast cyclist, as my speeds show. And as I met Melissa earlier today, and I said one of the mortal sins of cycling for me is passing by an ice cream shop or a bakery. And so here I'm stopping by for a pasty.
Looks awesome.
They really are. I think that bridge has made an appearance in Harry Potter.
And Thomas the Train.
And Thomas the Train, very important. That was home. This is a case where it's actually the first time I wild camped. So had a little view for the night. That was the view from my tent when the sun set.
Wow. Beautiful.
Thank you. So there I am, a little bit further on, day 4. Passed by some cattle, needed a good scratch, caught that. Had some company for a while, and I'm cycling on the left, of course, and so I gave the cattle plenty of space. Oops. And then coming to some town, people would ask me, what town are you going to? What town are you coming from? I didn't know. I just followed my GPS. And so I didn't really have a clear idea of all the towns I'd gone through. I just followed the line of my GPS. But, you know, just an ordinary day in an ordinary British town. A little further on. This is the World War I memorial. Every town had them. And any part of British history, you'll see that every town lost a lot of, mostly men, in World War I. It really, brutal stuff. Memorials in every town. Stopped by and talked with this farmer for a while. It was a farm shop. There's no way I'm going to pass that either. Fresh veg. And just lovely small town English architecture. I never thought I'd be buying peat somewhere. I didn't buy peat, but I hadn't seen peat for sale before, so it's kind of fun seeing that. Day 6. I have a blog post about feeling hostile in a hostel. So I've learned that when I travel, I don't sleep well with men because they snore louder than I'm accustomed to, and I am not their sweetheart, so I will not tolerate it very well. But it took me a while to figure that out one night, where I heard him snoring, and I thought to myself, should I wake him up? And I thought, no, that'd be rude. But why is he allowed to sleep when I'm not? Stop thinking about it. It's only going to wake you up more. And the snoring continued. So, yeah. I'm cruising along in this part of Britain, and I saw a lake, and that made me a little homesick because there's not, of course, not nearly as many lakes in Britain or the States as Minnesota, so I enjoyed seeing the fishing. This board was lovely. I just scanned this board for a while and saw what was going on in Long Ashton, you know, for that week and that day. It was a really good time. This is just a fun bridge to cross. The architecture was very nice. I enjoyed it. This couple was coming toward me, and they were asking for a campsite. And this is the first touring couple I saw, and they were just so happy together. The bottom tube of her bike has about 5 or 6 flags on it, and those are all the flags they've toured in. So from here on, I have less text and more talk. This guy was at a campsite where I was located, and I was just about to leave in the morning. And I was putting on sunscreen, and he said, "You better put on a lot of that sunscreen." And I just, yeah, I hope so. I'm looking for some nice sun today. And he said, "Where are you from?" And my immediate answer is to say Lake Wobegon, because that's Garrison Keillor literally based his stories on where I grew up. And he said, "Hold on, mate." And he ran off to his truck, and he came back with CDs from Garrison Keillor.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So we had a nice chat about Garrison for a while.
Yeah.
And just the thick woodlands was nice. And all of a sudden I saw this old abbey. I visited it later after I finished this ride. Henry VIII, who of course had a few wives. This abbey was like a lot of abbeys. When he changed the religion of England so he can get divorced. Mm-hmm. And in the process, when you change your religion, you have to kind of kick out the people that used to be in charge. And so however, he got rid of this abbey, and so it's just in ruin now, but it's still lovely. Picture of me cruising down the road on my folder. Let's see, what do I have here? I gotta get water bottle full of booze. I rolled by a apple farm, and I'm like, cool. It was the first time I ran out of water the whole trip, and I'm like, I need something to drink. Here's an apple farm. I'm gonna get some apple juice. That'll be lovely. So I go to the front gate, and no one was around, but this little girl comes running up to me and says, can I help you, sir? I'm like, yeah, I could really use something to drink because I'm low on water. She said, let me check with my mom. And she runs back to the house and just, Mommy, somebody's here for something, da, da, da. And then she runs back to me and says, Mom's not around, but I'd be happy to take you over to the house. I was like, all right, that'd be cool. So I follow this little girl on my bike and everything to the house, to the apple part. And she has this old wooden barrel, and she puts my plastic water bottle under a tap and turns the old wooden tap, and I can see this juice going into my water bottle. I'm like, wow, this is just too cool. And then all of a sudden I realized that, I better get some water too. So I had a Camelback. So I walk into the house, and I take a sip of the apple juice. And she had told me it was cider.
Hard.
I said, this has alcohol in it. And she looked at me as if I said, wow, the sky is blue. British and American English. Yeah, here's some laughing, so you might know. In Britain, cider always has alcohol. In America, not always. More common now. But yeah, so I had to dump it all back because I couldn't drink alcohol and cycle. It would have been a problem. But yes, a water bottle full of booze by accident. A little youth hostel that I stayed at, old building in England. Another little town. Again, just loved going through little towns. This was a farmer's market going on, so I stopped by and I had a Scottish egg for the first time, which has more cholesterol. You couldn't put more cholesterol into a small ball if you really tried. And normally I wouldn't have something so unhealthy. But when I'm cycling 50 some miles every day, I'm like, I can probably indulge this time.
How good, how was it?
You know, I hate to say it, but it was all right, you know? Yeah.
They're good at the state fair anyway.
Yeah. So, that bad food is can be good. And again, all of a sudden back in some quiet country road, peaceful. Day 9. This is Tony. And he's at, it was nearby a former fortress. This is the fortress itself. I took my only day off here. And so like, here's a bowling ground, you know, this is the British bowling sport. Oh, here in town, Brit's Pub has this bowling on top. And just having the castle ruin in the background is like, wow, that's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the day off and I wrote. I love to write. And so I sat down and wrote inside the ruins of an old castle. And just thinking, how'd this kid from Lake Wabagon get sitting inside this castle? It was just a wonderful, wonderful moment. On the road again. Okay, so I'm cruising through a field, something like this, right? And it's kind of flat out. And I'm looking down the road and I look off to my left and there's some nice fields and everything, different colors of crops. And I look to my right, and there's a different color of crop and a boat going across the field. And I look to my left again and I thought, did I see a boat going across the field? I did see a boat going across the field. They were canal boats.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, England had a lot of industry going on before the trains existed. And so they had these canals that, so there are some rover trips, as you might see, oh man, Jen and Barry have the trips going to Britain on the canal boats. Well, now they're just for fun, but they used to be for work. But while I was going down this road in England, I saw a boat, it looked like it was cruising right down the Oats. And it was a canal boat. Home sweet home, making some supper. And again, just stopping in little markets, grabbing some vegetables, throwing them in whatever I was making that night. I just leave in this campground and all of a sudden strike up a conversation with a couple. And I don't know, it was great. The generosity of strangers has been a consistent theme in my writing and my touring. It's getting hilly here, so I'm starting to climb almost 4,000 feet, getting near what's called the Lake District in England. Another old train bridge, or perhaps a aquifer. One night I couldn't find a place to stay. I was hungry and I was tired and I was sweaty. I wanted a shower. I wanted to get to sleep. I wanted to make something to eat. And I couldn't find anywhere to stay. I couldn't even wild camp. because there were no woods around. Wild camping isn't entirely legal in England. It is in Scotland. So my plan B is always to stop in a pub. So I found a town, stopped in a pub, and there were about 4 men enjoying a drink and laughing and telling jokes. And one, like, a barmaid is the word they use. And one barmaid. The men were useless. I don't know what they said, but it wasn't getting me closer to my shower or my meal. And so the barmaid said, you know, there is kind of some kind of campsite just over the hill. And I thought, of course, just over the hill. It's kind of a big hill. So I finally got there. And somewhere here, some women were sitting on a deck in front of one of these mobile homes. And I explained my situation. And they said, well, you know, we don't usually have people stay in tents here. It's just mostly just, you know, these mobile homes. And so you can ask, but don't know if it's going to work. And I said, well, who do I ask? And they said, well, you ask the warden, of course. Warden. Okay, the warden. So obviously it's a different word over there. So I was tired and I thought, well, of course, I'm going to go tap on the warden's door and say, can I pitch my tent in the place that doesn't usually let me pitch a tent? So I talked to the warden, and her name was Jane, and she had a stiff back, strong disposition, nice woman, but firm. And she walked back inside and she said, let me get something. And I heard some keys jingling. I'm like, that might be good. And she walked out and she very firmly said, follow me. And so I did. And she let me stay inside of a mobile home for the night for free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
This
nice.
stuff happens on bike tours. David Byrne, who's gone around the world twice, has many similar stories. But sitting on a couch had not felt so good in a very long time. And I was on a bed too, even in my sleeping bag.
I bet that mattress felt really good.
It really, really did. I do okay on my little mattress, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The sign here says Old Roman Road, and I'm pretty sure they mean it.
Mhm.
Hey, Sam. I stopped and talked to this guy for a while, and just making conversation, me probably asking directions, and he said something like, "You're missing the center of the country, mate." I'm like, "Really? What's that?" He said, "We got to go back there." So I had to cycle backwards about, or go south again for probably 5 or 10 miles, but it was the center of Britain. So how often do I get to, get to see that? So I went back to Dunsop Bridge and read the signs about being the very center of the British continent, island actually, not a continent, and took a picture and got back on the road. Again, just some little store, stopped in for a snack, something to drink.
You've got some really great pictures.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Like the idea that you set a lot of these up with a little tiny stand for your camera.
Right. I had some help too.
Crazy.
And as you know, Sam, I take the occasional picture while cycling. But thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just call this somewhere in England. The camera I had didn't have a GPS stamp on it, but just like the shot. And so if you don't know Britain well, that red box on the left side is the standard British post box, or the color for it. Another World War I memorial. Every town had them. They lost a lot of troops in World War I. I saw this and I thought, I'm kind of tired. I got a ways to go across this one. But whether you're hiking or cycling or whatever, you just carry on, right? Dry stone fences everywhere. There's not a drop of mortar in that wall, and they're all over the place. Day 14. So I'm getting into what's called the Peak District. These aquifers were just fun, seeing them so close up. And the bridges of all different shapes. Older than our country.
Yeah, that's a bridge a troll could live under for sure.
Right, exactly, exactly.
That's a pretty picture, right
Thank you.
there.
Just love that sheep.
Mhm.
That sheep's got it made.
Well, did he pose for the picture?
Did, yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. I went back and forth a couple times looking at my GPS and saying, I missed a turn.
Mhm.
And so I kept on going back. It's like, I missed a turn again. And then I realized this was the road.
Hmm.
I was going down a hill and pulled my brakes, and I heard this very uncomfortable sound of metal scraping against metal. And my brake pad was gone. So I just pulled over, pulled out my extra pair of brake pads. You just got to unscrew one bolt, put a new one on. So almost into Scotland. This guy was cycling the perimeter of England a couple of times. Maybe, I'm not sure if hikers see this much. I imagine you do, but when I tour a lot, I see people that have been on the road for too long. And he was a friendly guy, but he was on the road too long. You got to come home.
What defines too long?
Yeah.
Probably a year or two.
Oh.
Well, he was
Is
also
that for you?
laps around the. Okay, you know, hey, if you ever want to go for a year or two ride, I'm with you. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I know where it's like, hey, there's Scotland. Cool. The stone got darker and darker the further north I went. So in southern England, the stone is kind of a limestone color. And here it's kind of a medium brown. And it gets even darker as we go north. And of course, the accent changes a lot. UK has more dialects of English than the US does. And when you get into sorry?
By dialects, do you mean accents?
Yes. Yep. I think it's the same word. Not sure. But when you get close to Scotland, you really start wondering: is Scottish another version of English? You know, like Scottish is the second language. I was walking around Edinburgh sometime before this ride, and just roaming around the edge of the city, and the Scottish man drove up next to me, rolled down his window, and said, "Get for a carriage." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Get for a carriage." And I thanked him. And I said, "I'm okay." He was saying, "Care for a carriage," but he was speaking in Scottish English. So flowers are crazy over there. Love them. Home sweet home. Oh, I missed them. Oh, there we are. I stayed at this campsite for a while. This couple owns the campsite. I did some work on my bike. I switched the tires from front to back and all that business. And this is just a lovely couple. And what the plant they're standing next to is a Scottish flower, or the thistle. Scottish flower is the thistle. And they were so proud of this thistle. I mean, the thing's massive, but it's all part of the fun.
It looks like a giant weed.
They are considered weeds
What's
here.
that? What's that?
They're considered weeds here.
They are.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But they're beautiful there.
they are beautiful there.
But are those lupins to the right?
I
Yeah, they look
probably
it.
need some help with that.
Yeah, they look like it.
Yeah, those are gorgeous.
A lot of rain in Scotland, so that helps. This is the sun porch they let me hang out in. They had Wi-Fi there, and so I
Mm,
Wrote some blog entries, posted them, and just enjoyed the wonderful space.
that's gorgeous.
It is. Do you notice something unusual about the hills?
No trees?
No trees. It's kind of weird. My guess, I think I checked this out once, on the Industrial Revolution and the fact that the UK has been a country for 1,500 years. They cut them down. And now there's often sheep roaming around. So they nibble down everything. I really miss the trees. This is wild camping is like I said, it's legal in Scotland. I'm not sure if you can see me because in my view the pictures of everybody is over what I'm doing, but I'm making supper. So getting into the middle of Scotland. I was just at a stoplight and I thought, hey, let's get a picture of this. So that was my view for a good part of the trip. This on the left is a lock and dam, or lock for the canal boats. And there's a picture of it. So they can, or maybe it's a lift bridge, but normally there's also lock and dams for the canal boats. Somewhere around here, I just noticed that was in Glasgow. I'll tell them this story in a moment. So just cruising around in Scotland. Lovely little fishing boats. This is a youth hostel. So like 15, yes, Sam, I love your expression. Yeah, this is $15 a night. Yeah, yep. That's the inside.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
Wow.
Incredible.
Fabulous.
Loved it.
Unless they put you in the dungeon.
I think the dungeon would be better than a lot of places I've stayed.
Could be one of
Oh,
those
man.
experience.
What's that?
Could be one of those experience stays.
Right, exactly.
They charge extra for that, actually.
I think this is this looks like the same place. Not sure. Yeah, it's the same place.
Mm.
Kitchen. Youth hostels are also fun in that there's usually a good sized kitchen and you're there with other families, other people, and you just end up chatting, getting to know each other. Very communal, literally. Back on the road. Those are locks. Again, the browner stone, the darker stone in Scotland, a bit of a different architecture as well. And I hit rush hour. So, I mean, look at the tiny roads that we're on, and those two vehicles are just having a tough time. But, you know, they make it. It just requires more patience. And quite honestly, I have a strange pleasure about small roads over the big highways, even in moments like this. This was a few Italians that were also touring. And I was stunned that I actually passed them because I'm not that fast, especially on my folding bike. I'm now in the Scottish Highlands. there's nothing really to say in the pictures coming up, so I'm just going to go quiet and show you what I basically, it's rare to get a lot of sunshine when passing through this part of Scotland, and so just loved it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I can see that if you didn't have sunshine and you didn't have trees, how that area could be a little depressing.
Yeah. Could very well be the basis for pubs.
I don't know if you said this, but what time of year were you there? Or what month or?
July to August.
Okay, thanks.
You ride on the left side of the road?
I did. Yeah. It was pouring at this campsite. I came across a couple that I met before. He had just got out of the military and they were camping together and their tent was leaking and they just didn't look happy. But you know, I just tried to offer some conversation for a moment. It was pouring here. And I remember writing in my blog that I have now cooked a full meal in a pouring rain, and it's not that different than cooking a meal in the sunshine. Just need to add less water. The midges. Scotland has a bug that is tiny, barely visible, but they will eat you alive. This cloud would just come my way. And in my blog, I playfully but seriously called them the demons. The demons were back. And I was wearing hiking pants. My bike tours, I wear hiking pants. And they got up them.
Wow.
And yeah, so my legs are full of spots. So that was less pleasant.
Can you use a spray or anything for them?
No, I think that makes them giggle. Yeah, it's like, oh, nice try. Sure, we've seen this one before. The Scots probably have some solution, but it never that thorough. On one occasion, I could not find a place to stay again. The midges were out in absolute full force. I couldn't stand still to make a phone call. So I was literally coasting down a hill on the phone on a quiet road, trying to make a calm reservation at a hotel. I was going to give in. And I'm trying to say, yes, my name is Steven, and I'm looking for a blah, blah, blah room. And while I'm cruising down a hill with midges still trying to catch up with me.
Wow.
Jody and Sam, this is a version of something you've seen from me before. This is a wrong turn. So I enjoyed this quiet road right until it ended. Got narrower.
I was gonna say, it was somebody's driveway, wasn't it?
Perhaps 1,000 years ago, but not recently. I'm cruising up this hill, and again, it's just coming down in buckets. And I'm thinking, yep, this is what I call fun. Absolutely, this is what I'm here for, you know. And I saw some people go by and say, "Hey, how you doing?" They said something or whatever, and they said, "I'm in our RV. Yeah, okay." I'm like, "Yeah, hey, thanks. All right." So I get to the top of the hill, and what they said was, "Hey, come into our RV." And so they had me inside for a sandwich, a cup of coffee, and just chatted for a while.
Nice.
Yep, very nice. Those are rovers. I'm kidding. I don't know. They could be, right? Love that bridge.
The Romans probably built it.
Probably so. I don't think I do have a video. Yeah, Sam knows this one. So this is on Loch Ness. And if you look out the right window, you can see a little trace of Nessie, but you have to look really close. I'm lying. But I'm hanging out in a youth hostel on Loch Ness, just having my little meal, enjoying being outside where the midges can't get me, relaxing, writing in my blog, and all of a sudden, a band shows up.
Love it.
That's awesome.
I couldn't believe it. If my poor memory serves, my friend Melissa used to play the clarinet when we were in high school. This clarinetist was just fun. Was just fun. Okay, getting to day 21. After I left the youth hostel, in the youth hostel, the previous place, I made a point to finally wash some clothes because, you know, you got to do that. And I didn't realize that my notebook was in the clothes. So this is the last remnants of the notebook I had been keeping as I went across the island. And this is leaving Loch Ness.
I'm sorry, did that say pie tour in the top right corner of the
Well spotted. Huh? Where?
top right corner pie
Yeah,
tour?
pie tour.
Pie tour.
It's been a while, but I think those two guys called their bike tour the pie tour.
Well, that could be meat pies too, not fruit pies.
That's
No,
exactly right, John.
no. Don't ruin it, John.
Well spotted, Sam. And this is, I just love stopping by these places for groceries. So you can see, you know, Patterson's licensed grocer. Park my bike outside, read some of the signs in the window, and shop. So that's where I got my groceries. There was some kind of county fair going on. Another World War I memorial. Early in World War I, the Scots wore their kilts. And it's a historic place, and history matters over there. And I'm fairly certain that there was nothing else under that kilt. They stopped wearing kilts when mustard gas was being used. Ouch.
And the Germans called them the mad women from hell.
Right.
So what mustard gas is, and I don't think I want to know.
It's a blistering agent.
Mm.
Yeah, hard on the lungs.
Yep. I went into some campsite and the whole place was mine. It was empty. So just having a building to myself was lovely. So I'm cruising along and I see some cars that were kind of unusual, as you see on the right. It's like, okay, that's a new one. And they're at a rest stop. After World War II, German aircraft companies who made German fighters in the war were verboten from making fighter jets or aircraft. So they made cars. And they used the similar design in their cars as they did in their aircraft. So I know a bit about World War II aircraft, and the Messerschmitt 109 was a very famous aircraft, and this opening is really similar to the Messerschmitt 109 fighter. And now they're a collector's item, and people go on rides in these tiny cars just for the fun of it.
They are freaking adorable. Oh my
They are
God.
adorable. Thank you very much.
Yes. Why don't we have more cars like that?
Exactly. And of course, I couldn't help but shove my 6 feet into one of these things for a picture. Yeah.
Nice.
But kind of like the VW bus, your first line of defense in an accident is your knees.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, gorgeous.
Another memorial.
What was that last picture, Steve?
This one?
No, the last one.
That's just some nice countryside I was enjoying. Just kind of an idea of what the countryside was like.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Pretty sure I had to turn right here.
Not logical.
You did, did you?
Roads in England, especially London, logic, they are lacking in logic, you could safely say. So I took the right turn and I came here. It's like, well, this is nice. And I had to go in the bottom of this bridge. But hey, you know what? It worked. Now you can also see how I fastened my handlebar bag. Just a bit of technical stuff here. My bike didn't come with a handlebar bag. So I liberated a couple of tubes from a drying rack in my flat and tied them to my handlebar. And they usually stayed there. So that worked out all right. Let's see, how do I go back to?
That's pretty.
Thank you. The Browner stone, as I mentioned earlier. So this is the Garmin I used to navigate. And you can see I am 99.9 miles from the end. And things got quiet. Things got desolate. I didn't see anybody for like a day. Which also means there was not a place to stay. Until I found that little stone house. It was pretty locked up. The windows were open. I could have snuck in, but it felt better to camp outside of it. Can't really see it. So my tent is here. And I sat there for a while and just thought about all the Christmases that were spent in that house. And all the occasions that happened there. It was just, it was abandoned, but it was kind of fun. That night, for the first time during the whole trip, I heard some animals outside my tent, and I was just too tired to be worried. So I smacked the side of my tent and said, "Get out of here," and they did. Day 23, almost done. That is the North Sea. It got cold here, so this is August. And I was wearing shoes with mesh by the toe, and that worked great for England. Here, it was getting cold. I could not, I pulled over to a bus shelter and put on everything I had for clothing. Rain suit, couple of jerseys, rain pants, and I was still cold, couldn't feel my toes. And so I literally stopped and cupped my toe. I took my socks off and cupped my toes just to get feeling back in them. In August, it's like, well, I wasn't gonna need warm stuff.
Beautiful.
Again, that's the North Sea, so that's the very top of Scotland.
People swim there too.
I'm impressed.
It wouldn't be me.
That surprises me, John.
That water's flipping cold. I tried it once.
Dry suits they swim?
What's that?
Are they wearing dry suits?
Oh, no. Scots are a hardy bunch.
They are a hardy bunch. Okay, so I am like cruising around here, and I had not stayed in a hotel or an Airbnb the whole time. That was my goal. And again, I'm not seeing places to stay. It was too wide open to wild camp. I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want people see me and mess with me. Couldn't find any campsites. Couldn't find any hostels. So I broke down. I'm like, I am on the North Coast, and I have to give up. I have to stay in a hotel. So I called the hotel. Sorry, sir, we're full.
No.
What's it? Called another one. Oh, sorry, mate. We're full tonight. You can try this number here. I'm like, all right. I tried several, and finally, I called another one and got the same message. And I said, "This is kind of a small town. I have a question. Kind of a small town. How is it that every hotel in town is full?" And the guy responded, I'll make sure I get the name right. "Prince Charles, mate. Prince Charles is in town." Great. Thanks, Charlie. Yep. So Prince Charles and his crew had the warm hotel beds I wanted to stay in. What do you do? I wasn't going to turn around. So I was shocked. I found a campsite, and I'm tired, and I'm cold, and I park my bike outside the main office, and I go inside, and just not clear-minded. And I talked to the guy, and he has another accent that I really can't. I heard it, but I can't place it. And so I said, "Oh, hang on for a second. I have to go to my bike. I forgot my wallet." So I go outside, go to my bike, get my wallet, and something in my mind says, "Texas, Texas." So I walk inside. I said, "Are you from Texas?" "Sure am, sir. Happy to serve you." And so he took off on this whole Texas small government thing. He happened to be in the military. He's living on a military pension. I resisted the urge to say, how about small government and cutting military pensions too? But I didn't, because I couldn't stay anywhere else. So I got my spot. I went to my tent, I got my stuff away, and I thought, I just want a warm shower, like I've never wanted a warm shower. And so I walk into the shower. I have my shower gear. I walk into the shower area. And anyone who's traveled much, that different countries have different shower systems and different knobs, and you got to twist this, then that, then this, whatever. I'm like, I'm just going to do what I got to do to have a shower. Just before I went in, I saw a red circle on the outside, and I'm like, I haven't seen that before. I can't think. I am just going to have my hot shower. I go inside, I turn this, I flip that, nothing but stone cold water. And I'm thinking to myself, I just don't know if my cold body and frozen toes can take any more cold. I just don't know if I can do it. But I did it, and I'm outside the shower, I'm drying off, I'm combing my hair, and I take a quick glance at that red circle. Yeah, push that for heat.
Yeah, they really don't have water heaters. I mean,
Right.
They don't have water heaters in tanks there. It's all as it flows.
That's it.
Go back and do it over.
Yeah, I was done. I just wanted to get inside my sleeping bag, and I was pretty sure I could warm up there, and I did. That was so nice, just a view from the campsite of the North Sea.
What city was that, Stephen?
I forget. I just followed, like when you join my bike rides, people ask which road I'm taking. I'm following the line of my GPS.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish I knew, but I don't. So no, I'm now 9.98 miles from the end. So there's John O'Groats.
Of course. Good old John Groats.
Oh, you missed the beginning, Sam.
Oh.
That's the ending point. It's called Land's End to John O'Groats. No worries.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. So there's the end.
You were
Not too long. So at the beginning, for those who joined late, I'm at the same sign that says Land's End. So it was, it was everything a bike tour is. It was beautiful. It was challenging. It was cold. It was uncomfortable. Great people, as always. When I cycled across the U.S., it occurred to me that on bike tours, I've experienced just about every emotion except, fierce anger and deep love. Otherwise, I've had just about everything, because you just experience all that.
Did I hear you say that was one of your first, or that was your first overseas bike ride?
That was my first. Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank
Very-
you. Thank you. I was in the Air Reserve for 5 years. I worked on aircraft navigation radios when I was in college in the Air Reserve. And so that helped me with navigation. Yeah. And just like most rovers, I mean, we're used to just pushing forward, so that helps. Any other questions?
Stephen, I just want to say thank you. It was very nice. I'm really appreciative that you shared that. I'm going to sign off, but thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
The photos that you took were really crisp and clean. Did you use your cell phone camera, or did you have a separate camera for pictures?
Good question. I had a separate camera for pictures, and this is 2011, and so I don't think I even had a smartphone then.
Wow.
Maybe maybe a Samsung Galaxy One or something. But yeah, I think you still have that one, don't you, Sam? No, I'm kidding. Sorry. Yeah, I had I bought a camera for the trip. Yeah. So, if you ever, I don't know if you ever have the chance, I highly recommend it. This is their routes. There are people walking it, driving it,
Okay.
kinds of things. So,
So did you know exactly how many days it was going to take you, or I'm going to pretty much stop in this town, stop in this town, stop in this town, or were you more playing it by ear? Like, how much planning did you do?
Sam, we've had this conversation before about my planning.
Sorry.
My planning is
Loose at best.
estimates. So I had 3 weeks off from work, and around the middle, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. I'd never gone this far before. But using my Garmin, I was around, I'm trying to get my marker up again. I was around here, somewhere around this part of the country. And it occurred to me that I could use my Garmin to find the direct line distance to where I started, if that was a straight line. Then I could use the direct line distance to where I was finishing. And when those two numbers were similar, I was halfway. And then I knew that as long as my time, I'd use less than half my time, I could probably make it.
That's some really rough calculation there, Stephen.
But more precise than I normally work with.
Oh boy.
Would have been a little late by that time to find out that you weren't.
What's that, Jody?
I think it would have been a little late at that point to like find out that you weren't gonna make it.
Well, you know I'm never late, Jody. But my
Oh.
plan is that if I couldn't make it, there's a train station in every other town. So I could put everything in a train, get back to London.
Because not to like poke at you, but you realize like as the bird flies is different than as the bike rides.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the only calculation I had.
It's details, Sam.
That's it, John. That's
Yes.
it.
Late though.
Yeah.
You guys do realize I'm a planner. Like that's like my job. It's in my job title.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Just saying.
Yeah, it's, I guess when you get into like remote locations, you kind of get used to estimates. Yeah.
Very nice. Very
What
nice.
would they have done if you didn't make it back to your job in time?
They would have been they're tolerant. But I have a pretty good work ethic, and so I would have felt really bad about not doing that. And so if I would have gotten wherever to some town and it didn't look good, I would have found a train station.
Yeah, that's
And-
helpful to have an out.
I did. Yep, exactly. And
At
the
every
trains
point
there are
along
great.
the way, you had an out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Train stations are really helpful too when you're in a town and you're looking out, you're sitting in a cafe and you're looking out at your bike and your tent and it's pouring down rain.
Yes.
And where can I go on the train when it's not raining?
Right. That's
Julie, you say that like you have learned that from experience.
National Ice Cream Day, somewhere in, I think it was Austria.
Nice.
Yep. But yeah, there were possible there were options to get back. Just I don't know, but it just the it was such a great way to see England, and as usual, just it's always about the people. I always meet some really great people. Of course, there's a couple bad ones, fine, but they're so trivial that I barely remember them. Yep. So.
I love the story about how the person in the RV camp pulled you into it and said, "Here, you can sleep in this RV for the night."
That's it. The warden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Jane. She actually followed my blog for the rest of the trip, and so she actually joined me. She was posting in my blog whenever I did something. So that was really fun. Yep. Yep. So, and I've seen more versions of that. As I'll give some more presentations on Thursdays about other rides, and I always found something like that. Yeah. I am going to just do some housekeeping. I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording because I don't want to push my luck on the recording, and I think it turned out all right.